Hey everyone, and welcome back to Gregtech New Horizons. So we are just out in the oil fields here collecting some more oil, so that we can feed our new petrochemistry area here in the new base. Oil will go in this tank. So last episode we set up all of these machines, some of which are moved over from our old base, which ultimately gives us high octane gasoline along with a bunch of other byproducts. And we send the high octane gasoline into our combustion engine here for 3 amps of EV power. You can't do nothing here. Goodbye. It would be a different story if you hit a machine though. Anyways, there are still a few more optimizations I'd like to make on the petrochemistry setup, and we've also made a bit of a mess here at our old base where we tore out most of the machines. We also need to somehow figure out a way to produce acetic acid, oxygen, nitrogen, hydrogen, and there was one more as well. Ah yes, methanol. We need methanol for our new fuel system. And this all has to happen before this super tank of cetane boosted diesel runs out. We're kind of on a timer here, otherwise our life gets very miserable. But first we need to do some redstone controls, so we need somewhere in the region of half a stack of fluid detector covers. Let's also move our miner early on this episode for electrotene. The map is telling me here should be electrotene. Maybe it's further down. Ah yes, here it is. So miner, combustion engine, mining pipes, and fuel. Nice. We're also going to get some more Certus quartz, which we're running out of for applied energistics. Also, it's been a while since we checked our nuclear reactor here actually. Oh, we still have plenty of durability left on these fuel rods. Although I noticed here that we only have 7 spares, these things are depleted. The reactor design that we have requires 10. Let's just make up some more. We're making long steel rods as part of the fluid detector recipe anyway. This will save us for a rainy day. We're going to need to upgrade our blast furnaces pretty soon here, as we're out of things like aluminium and stainless steel. Alright, we're making our machine controllers and the fluid detector covers, so I decided just to go for a full stack of these things. This should last us for the foreseeable future, I would say. So these fluid detector covers we want to put on the outputs of all of our distillation towers and LCRs. We may end up moving these to the outsides though, so that we can just directly put the redstone signal like this onto the controller. Connect this to the controller with the machine cover, and only enable with a redstone signal, so that if ever these output hatches fill up, the machine will stop and we don't void any of the inputs. And we just repeat this process for all of the multi-blocks we can see here. So the next thing is that we need to fix our production of oxygen, hydrogen and nitrogen. So I think the plan is we'll put another machine room over here. I mean either that or we could just put it on the end of these distillation towers on this side. Nah, I think we'll stick to the original plan. Yeah, we're going to put it right here. So the setup for nitrogen is actually going to be quite easy. We already are producing it over here for one of our blast furnaces. Oh, more skeletons. Hello there. Yes, we are already producing nitrogen over here, along with oxygen actually. So right here we compress empty cells, this gives us compressed air. When you centrifuge compressed air, it takes 80 seconds at ULV, so it's more or less 80 seconds with the LV centrifuge. And we get oxygen plus nitrogen, 2 of the fluids we need, and that just leaves the hydrogen, which we'll tackle later on. The thing is, I don't know if LV machines are going to be sufficient enough. I mean, this will end up being a fully passive process. It's going to take me a little bit to figure out if that's going to be sufficient or not, but as for oxygen, instead of centrifuging water like what we're doing over here, or no, electrolyzing water, yeah, we used to be electrolyzing water here for oxygen, and we actually may move this process over since it uses refinery gas as the turbine fuel. We need refinery gas as part of high octane gasoline, but I think we'll be left with a surplus if we wanted to set the system back up. Although I was thinking that we actually use our sugar over here that we're buffering. So sugar you can send through, I believe it's an electrolyzer. 22 seconds at MV will give you 25 cells of oxygen. So, and also some carbon. So it's actually a pretty good deal to be honest. We are yet to overhaul our farming area, which is another big project on the list. But I think for today, since we're not doing anything with these ender chests anyway, we make use of these things. Yeah, it's going to take me some time to plan this out. I don't really want to set things up temporarily anymore. I want to make sure things are in place properly, so I'll see what I can come up with. So may I present the start of our new passive machine room. Alright, now we have 3 setups here. The first one is electrolyzing water. I decided actually just to set this up again, and we're using refinery gas to power these gas turbines. Somehow some benzene ended up here, so I mean, I don't know. I think I set the filters wrong in these things originally. Hydrogen goes in here, oxygen goes in here, and the outputs of those 2 tanks are then actually also sent into this P2P channel. This P2P is also how we get the refinery gas from over there. And there is also some item and fluid conduits to insert into these tanks. We get the oxygen as cell form and the hydrogen gas as the fluid. So that is why we need both the item and the fluid conduits on here. Second system is almost exactly the same as what we had in our blast furnaces. It's just a compressor for cells, centrifuge for air cells, which gives us oxygen and nitrogen. The oxygen here has an overflow valve. I really like these things. In fact, there's no reason not to set this to 64, right? So basically anything above 64 litres will be just voided so that this system doesn't back up. We want it to stop when we're full on nitrogen gas. This specific system here I'm not sure is going to be fast enough, to be honest. But I mean, we can always stack it vertically, and I left plenty of space off to this side as well if we need to add more of these things. Or we could even just upgrade the tier of the machines. Although this is absolute peanuts to run. I mean, it only costs 2 EU per tick. So cable loss on the LV stuff here is not an issue. We can basically go as high as we need to. And as for how we're getting power for these things, well, we're just piggybacking off transformers. So we're running our aluminium cable, which comes from our combustion engine over there. This is sending EV power throughout the base, and I was actually considering moving this up to IV, just for even less cable loss. So right at the source there, we're getting 2048 EU per tick. Over here, it's down to 1980. So yeah, 1970 right here. It doesn't seem to be an issue right now, but yeah, transporting up to IV is probably not a bad idea in the near future. And the last step we have over here is the electrolysis of sugar. We are missing conveyor module on top for the carbon. We'll lock the drawer and give it a void upgrade. So the sugar is brought in from this ender chest. I hooked it up to our farm outputs in the old base. We also get the water byproduct, which is just trashed underneath. And then oxygen is sent into the tank here, which we actually still have to hook up. And at this point we have multiple sources of oxygen, so I'm really not worried about the speed of this thing. But yeah, for this we just need one more P2P, which can go right here, link this up, convert it to fluid, and then we can simply pull from the bottom of this fluid tank. We don't need the pump on the bottom though, since we're using the conduits. Extract on brown, and this should send the oxygen to where we need it for our fuel system. So other than the sugar, all this really costs us is energy. This is only one MV machine and the rest are all LV. So that is 3 of the fluids taken care of. We can get rid of this hydrogen tank, this oxygen tank. Oh, this is a spare one, I think these are from the old base. Our next mission is to produce ethanol, lubricant, which I still have to set up actually. Maybe we move that over there. Yeah, you know what? This is going to be really easy actually. We can just move our brewery over. This drawer here is supposed to be for either redstone or I believe soapstone we can use. Yeah, so in that case we just use a 1x2 drawer. Since we now have access to applied energistics interfaces, we can do one of the most satisfying things in the world. We'll have to dodge this P2P. Maybe we move it over a block. Yeah, that way we can put our interface over here, request soapstone. We'll hide it from the interface terminal. That means it won't show up with the rest of our patterns in that terminal over there. We'll need to replace this P2P. And we're not getting the soapstone in. Basically the top row here is what you request, and this is what shows up from your ME system on the bottom line. I think maybe the issue is that we're out of channels. That's probably the case. A temporary fix for our problems here is just to switch this out with a dense cable. Actually, no it's not. We need 2 dense cables here. It's probably worth just moving the P2P to be honest. But we have the cable now, so yeah, switching this out means that we can handle 32 channels out of this P2P. As you can see, there is 7 in use. Oh, so maybe the channels wasn't the issue here then. Interface? Hello? I know we have soapstone in our system here. We have to get to the bottom of this. Apparently the smart cable here says there is 1 channel in use, so the interface should be online here. Perhaps it has something to do with the items being stored in drawers? No, we have this on bi-directional. This is a head scratcher. It's probably something very obvious though, hold on. Ah, I found the solution after quite a lot of digging actually. So the problem is that we are technically not on the same network as our storage drives there. So up there is the storage buses for where our drawers are. If we follow the line down here, this plugs straight into our main controller. Or no, the subnet controller. And over here at the intersection is technically connected to our main controller. In other words, this one up here. So that means that technically everything is on separate networks, which is why we can't access any of the soapstone or redstone. Although if we try it over here, we can see that this is exactly the behavior that we want. Having it in this slot here means that the item conduits or anything can pull from the interface. So to fix that, we need to do some rewiring of this thing. Alright, things should be fixed. I've implemented more P2Ps on the main controller, and therefore one over this side, one over here to hook up the terminals, and one on the other side for the other side of the storage room. The only thing that we're missing actually is those interfaces over there, but that is for tomorrow. I think we're going to completely redo that once we have enough ME controllers. It's quite difficult right now since we're limited by the amount of titanium that we have actually. Anyway, now we should be able to request soapstone here, and also redstone. That gets pulled into the drawer, imported into the machine, and it should make us lubricant. And then connect this up to our fluid P2P network. And I guess we have a connection right over there. Awesome, we're making passive lubricant now. Let's maybe not use a super tank though, we don't need to buffer that much of this stuff. So the lubricant we need as part of our combustion engine here, it should be getting sent in... Oh, we have another super tank buffer here. We definitely don't need all of this. Yeah, let's remove the buffer on this side. Let's see how we're doing for cetane. Alright, so we dropped like, I don't know, 200,000 since the start of this episode. We're not doing too bad for time. But remember, we still have to produce ethanol, methanol. Wait, was it methanol? Yeah, methanol. I always confuse methane and methanol. And also acetone as well. And the distillation of wood vinegar gives us all three of these products. Albeit in very low quantities, but I mean, it's going to be free, right? Wood vinegar we can get from the coke oven, or the pyrolyse oven actually, which only requires us to farm logs. So right over here at the old base, we are currently distilling fermented biomass. But honestly, after looking at these outputs, I don't actually think that we need any of these things. We do get slightly more methanol this way, and we get ammonia, which we won't be getting if we do wood vinegar. But I think since we don't have the resources for another distillation tower or pyrolyse oven, we just reuse these ones and we switch it over. Excuse me. This is like worse than Swiss cheese here, look at this. Yeah, I think we just reuse what we have here and switch the process over to wood vinegar. Maybe in the future we set up fermented biomass again. Even though we're still just going to be moving machines, I reckon it's going to take me some time. Probably longer than I first expect. And I would quite like to keep our distillation towers in a line here, so more than likely it's going to go over here. You know what, this actually went relatively smooth. One thing I noticed when I was counting out the blocks on the spacing for these is our LCRs here for High Octane Gasoline is one block off. So either all of these LCRs need to be shifted one to the right, or we need to move the oil cracking unit. But that's for another day. Oh, I don't like discovering things like that. Anyways, we got our distillation tower and the pyrolyse oven in place. So I did just keep the Canthal coils that we had before. I'm not sure if it's going to be necessary to upgrade or not. We can probably take our old coils out of the blast furnace actually when we upgrade those. That'll be coming up shortly. So underneath here we extended out the EV line. Hopefully we get enough power to these transformers. We're transforming twice down to MV for the pyrolyse oven. And we have to run HV for the distillation tower here. So we just have the one HV transformer there. And instead of connecting to the Ender Fluid Conduit network, I decided to just split it off and added a separate P2P connection here. So what is going to be our input items for this pyrolyse oven? Well, we do need logs, but I noticed there was a second recipe if we use circuit 8 instead of 7. And we can actually give this nitrogen gas to cut down the EU cost. And also the processing time, actually. That may be something we look at in the future. It won't be too hard to implement. But we need to check to make sure that we're producing enough nitrogen first. and I would like to prioritize the nitrogen for high octane gasoline. So for now we'll run on circuit 7. We also need logs as our input item. We don't happen to have anywhere in their chest, do we? Unfortunately not, it's just in their tanks. Although we do have the dimensional transceivers. We can use these for items, right? And they don't take power. So currently we have this very, very old crop harvester here for spruce bonsais. Let's see if we can get this to work. So we can just item conduit out of the drawer, set the channel, and we insert into the input bus, which unfortunately has to be on top. Do you work? Please don't tell me this needs power. So as it turns out, these transceivers actually do require power. So for now we're just going to move over the drawer, and it just means that we have to keep an eye on this input, same as the oil, until we can find a more permanent solution and we overhaul our farming area. But that's slightly lower down on our priority list for now. I also upgraded the muffler hatch to EV, just to reduce the pollution a bit. I think it was at MV before in the old base. So yeah, the oven also gives us charcoal, which we just store in the drawer. The wood vinegar comes out of the output hatch and also joins this ender fluid conduit network, which is then filtered in the bottom side of the distillation tower. And in fact, as long as I remember to do maintenance, which it looks like I did, this thing should turn on. It never works first time. I think it's because of these things. Ah yeah, we're missing the fluid detector covers on these. Although actually we probably don't want one on water. Like water we're just going to let void, so it doesn't really matter if we control that or not. Same with methyl acetate up the top here. So methyl acetate we can electrolyze into hydrogen, oxygen and carbon. I'm not so sure this is going to be worth doing though. I mean, we'll see. It's another option if we need to boost the production of these materials. We can also mix it into refined glue, but this also requires polyvinyl acetate, which we don't have. So I think same with the water, we'll just let void. We'll just let the output hatch fill up. We are, however, interested in the rest of these products though. Acetic acid, ethanol, methanol and acetone. We definitely want to buffer all of these. These tanks are all just old from the old distillation tower here. So we'll put fluid detectors on the rest of these ones. And now it should be giving out a redstone signal to turn on the distillation tower. 2 seconds per recipe, that's not bad. And we should be seeing our acetone here. Oh, it is actually going into the pipe, it's just because we have the extraction on here. Yeah, and we're already filtering it over for one of those LCRs, which is great, this is exactly what we want. We can also set the extract for ethanol. I don't think we're using acetic acid anywhere though. And we'll also need a tank here for methanol. Alright, nice. Okay, so I think those were the last fluids that we need in order to produce high octane gasoline. So we should start buffering on this thing now. I did turn off our oil cracker here for light fuel, the hydrocrack light fuel, just to save on a little bit of power since we weren't able to fully produce the gasoline yet, but we should get that going. That's going to produce us octane and hopefully fill the buffers on these machines. This one is running, right? Yeah, 6 seconds per recipe for this one. And now we can see anti-knock agent. We should see the hog running anytime now. Oh, it looks like it already ran. Yeah, this was at 18 before. Awesome, this system is working very, very nicely. Oh, things are starting to come together now. It's taken a while, but I'm liking this a lot. And we're producing so many byproducts that we need. Alright, so now that we have a very robust fuel system, our only inputs for this is logs and oil. Both of those items we'll tackle at a later stage. But thinking about our next major goal for this base, well, we need the blast furnaces over here actually. We need more things like titanium, tungsten, stainless steel. I have been smelting some of it while I was setting up all of those multi-blocks, which mainly is running off our nuclear reactor actually. So I think this is going to be our first project for next episode. And that then leaves all of these other fluids here. So we have things like silicon rubber, polyvinyl chloride, polyethylene. Let's see, what else do we need to move over? There is the toluene situation here and the ITNT, but it's going to be a while before we get to the next planet, so I'm not really worried about this process here. Our C10 boosted diesel, obviously we don't have infrastructure anymore for this thing, so we could probably just reuse this LCR for something else. Ah, that's right, and we also have PTFE. This is something I would like to fix the automation for, because we go through quite a lot of this now, little zombie. But I think we're going to keep this episode nice and short today. I know that we haven't made much progress recently, but that's the way it's going to be for a while. We'll be hanging out here in EV, well, the end of EV, for quite a while until we build up our new base infrastructure. So yeah, that is going to do us for today. Thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you all soon for some more Gregtech New Horizons.